Hey, what's up? This is Paul Salt from Super Easy Apps, and I'm going to show you how to get started with Vim. The reason that we're using Vim is if I jump over to Xcode, I've got Vim mode enabled. So in Xcode, you can enable Vim mode right here, and you can have also relative line numbers. So this allows you to use J and K to go up and down. So J is going to go down, K is going to go up. And then if you're on a longer line, if you hit H, that's going to go left, and then L is going to go to the right. All right. So H, J, K, and L. So J goes down, K goes up, H goes left, L goes to the other side. And you'll get sound effects when you reach the end of a line. So that's super helpful. You can go to the beginning of the line with like 0, or you can go to the end of the line with, what is the end of the line? $sign. So $sign takes you to the end of the line. So it's just a quick way to navigate without having to use your mouse. So this is a mouse-free sort of technique. And then if you know the keyboard shortcuts, you can go to like Command J allows you to switch editors. If you do Command Shift J, that brings you over to this. And J and K do not work there. That's unfortunate. So I have to actually use the up and down arrows here, which is a little less ideal. But that's where like the quick open is probably your best friends, is if you know you need to get into the image picker button, you can just start typing that and jump right to it. And then I'm still in that left tab, so I need to switch over to the other editor. Okay, so that is Vim, but how do you learn Vim? How do you get started with Vim? And that's what I'm gonna show in this video. I wanna show you one way that I've learned to use Vim, and this is because when I was a computer science student at RIT, I was also a lab instructor, and so I would do grading. And when I was doing that, I was doing everything through Vim, or I think Pico, or something else. There was some email client I also used, all terminal-based, which means you need to be good at knowing how these tools work and being able to practice them. So if you just open up a terminal, you can go in and say vimtutor, and this will start the vimtutor, and we can read through this. So Vim is a very powerful editor that has many commands, too many to explain in a tutor such as this. So this tutor is designed to describe enough of the commands that you will be able to easily use Vim as an all-purpose editor. The approximate time is 30 minutes for this tutorial, depending on how much time is spent with experimentation. Attention! The commands in this lesson will modify the text. Make a copy of this file to practice on if you started vimtutor. This is already a copy. It is important to remember that this tutor is set up to teach by use. That means that you need to execute the commands to learn them properly, which is so true. If you only read this text, you're going to forget the commands. I totally buy that. There are some commands I was like, oh, I totally forgot about the X command. Super helpful. Now make sure that your caps lock key is not depressed, and press the J key enough times to move the cursor so that the lesson 1.1, let's move the cursor. So the cursor is this rectangle box. You're going to move this down, it completely fills the screen. So let's move down, and you can just hold down the J key to scroll. And I think we see everything. So that's a whole lesson. We can go back up a little bit. So lesson 1 is moving the cursor. I think I need one more. Yeah. Okay. So to move the cursor, you press H, J, K, and L keys. So H is going to go this way. L is going to go this way. K is going to go up. J is going to go down. So you can start it up. You can pause this video and you can go in and start vimtutor. It's just vimtutor, and it should just be on your machine. If it's not, you could use something like Homebrew to go ahead and grab it. But I think it comes on all Macs, so it's built in by default to help teach you how to use the tools. All right, so hold it down and it will repeat. And then we move to lesson 1.2. And if you're ever unsure about something you typed, you can always press escape and retype the command you want. So escape is like cancel. And then the cursor keys should also work. I think they're talking about the arrow keys. but using H, J, K, and L, you will be able to move around much faster once you get used to it. Really? So let's get into lesson 1.2. So exiting Vim. So this is probably the most difficult thing for a beginner, is knowing how to save a file in Vim and then knowing how to exit a file without saving any changes, because you might use this when you're working with Git on the command line. So some of these lessons, they want you to read everything before you actually do the lesson. So let's go over this. Press the escape key to make sure you're in normal mode. So if I hit escape key, we see that we're in normal mode. It's giving me, I see this. If I wasn't in normal mode, I'd see something like insert along the bottom. Just pressing escape will get out of that. All right, so if I type colon in escape mode, now I can write commands, and quit, force quit is Q and then this symbol. Now, it said to read everything before we do any of those, so let's not jump ahead too much. So this is going to exit the editor, discarding any changes you have made. So you can just hit escape to not do that. Enter will do that. So pressing enter will do that. Now we can always come back to the tutor by just typing vimtutor and then pressing enter. And then if you have these steps memorized and you're confident, then execute steps 1 through 3 to exit and re-enter the editor. Note, the :Q enter discards any changes you have made. So this is a force quit. It's not saving the file. In a few lessons, you will learn how to save the changes to a file. I couldn't figure out how to save changes to a file. I must be doing something wrong, because every time I tried to start it up, I probably have to look at the man page to understand, the manual page to understand how vimtutor is working. So we're going to move down to lesson 1.3. So in lesson 1.3, we can learn how to delete. Now this is the one I forgot, and I was like, oh wow, this is super powerful. So press the X key to delete the character under the cursor. So the cursor is this rectangle that we have. It's no longer just a line, an insertion point. So we want to move the cursor to the line below marked down here. And it says fix the errors until the cursor, move the cursor until it is on top of the character to be deleted. Press the X key to delete the unwanted character, and then repeat steps 2 through 4 until the sentence is correct. So we've got the cow jumped over the moon, a bunch of typos. If you watch my touch typing video, typos are just something that you have to practice. You have to practice perfect practice. So go slow and you'll get better. But we can fix that quickly with Vim. So with Vim, I'm going to hit X over that character. You can get rid of this extra D, get rid of the V, and you can see how fast this is. Now imagine if you were doing this with the mouse and you're like clicking here and then hitting delete. And then you're clicking here and you're hitting delete, and you're clicking here. You're taking your hands off the keyboard. It's slow. So by learning how to use Vim, you can really speed up. All right. Did I even quit this? I don't even remember quitting. So let's do that one more time. I think we kind of moved on without quitting, mainly because I don't know how to actually save the file and load it again. So if we hit escape and then we do Q and then the exclamation mark, that's going to be a force quit. We press enter, we're out. This is really helpful when you're doing a commit and you're modifying it. And you're like, doing interactive rebase and I don't want any of these changes. I'm just going to exit this thing. Okay. If we type man vimtutor, this is going to give us the manual page for vimtutor. And it creates a copy, and looks like there's different languages. So -G gives you a language. What I couldn't figure out is how to reopen the same tutorial. So that was my biggest struggle earlier. I tried vimtutor tutorial.txt. Oh, is it wanting the full path? Is that my problem? And it flashes that so quickly. Okay. So now we're going to just scroll down holding that J key. And we practice deletion. So let's just do insertion so that you learn. We've got a couple insertions. I'll do a few more lessons. I'm not going to do the full thing today, but if you are interested in this or you want to talk through this, um, just comment down below, like the video if this is helpful. All right, so we want to make the two lines match in this exercise, moving the cursor on top of the character before which the text is to be inserted. So we want to insert text. We're going to press I and then type the necessary additions. As each error is fixed, press the escape key to return to normal mode. Repeat 2 through 4 to correct the sentence. Okay? So we're missing some text from this line. We have to make these two lines match. So the first thing we're going to do is, this is insertion. So insertion will put a character before whatever's selected. So we want to be on top of the T. So use H and L to find the T, and then type I to insert. You'll see at the very bottom corner on the left, it now says insert. And now I can just write some space. Now I want to leave insertion mode, because if I start doing J and K, look what they do. They start typing. Okay, so we don't want to do that. We have to hit escape. And now we can go over, and we're missing S and an I. So insert on the N, and we're putting an extra S and then an I. Escape, and then we're going to go over here. We're missing the word from in front of this. So we go ahead and insert that. Then go to the end. We go to the period because we're inserting in front of the period. We type I, we're in insert mode, and then we type line. All right, so play around with this. I've done this a bunch, so I know how to do this, but if you're new, you can just keep practicing. So if you want to add a new word from this, we could write awesome line. So if I were to do insert here and I start typing, I need to put a space, because otherwise I'm going to be right up against it, and I can hit escape. Or I can come in front of the L and say, okay, I've got a space. I'm going to do insert awesome space line. Okay? So let's do one more on appending. So you're going to press the A to append text. Now this means that text is going to come after where the cursor position is. So move the cursor to the first line below marked with the arrow. It doesn't matter on what character the cursor is on that line. Press the A for the necessary additions. As the text has been appended, press escape to return to normal mode. All right, so move the cursor to the second line marked and repeat steps 2 through 3 in order to correct this sentence. So we've got 2 sentences to correct. We're just appending. So if I did an I, what is that going to do? I can't even move over enough to do an I. So insert is not going to work in this situation. I do want to append after the H. I don't want to put anything before the H because I need to append is line period. So I'm going to do A to append. Now we see that it says insert mode. So we're still on insertion mode, but we're appending from where the cursor position is. So keep that in mind. So this line period. So insert mode is all about text editing, and then normal mode is when you hit escape, you're out of that. So again, go to the end of the line, and then you'll be on the S, and you type A to append, missing here, period. And if you want more practice, go in. There's some text missing from this line. And then here, I could do an insertion, and I need to practice. Okay, so we did an insertion there. What would that look like if I want to append? Well, if I want to append, I need to be in front of that period, and I hit A to append, and I need to practice. Okay, so that is how to work with append and insertion. And then this is probably where we'll end, is the end of lesson 1. So use WQ to save a file and exit. Note, before executing any of these steps below, read this entire lesson. If you have access to another terminal, do the following there. Otherwise, exit this tutor as you did in lesson 1.2 with the Q bang. And then at the shell prompt, type this command, vim file.txt, enter. So that's what I did. Vim is the command to start. Oh. So they just want us to open an empty file. I didn't realize that. So I totally whiffed on what this lesson was. I read this twice last night and I was super confused. So they're not doing vimtutor file.txt. That was the missing piece. That's why the manual page doesn't say anything about saving the tutor. This is about testing it in another window. So we don't need to leave the lesson right now. So I'm just going to open a new tab with Command T, and I'm going to type vim file.txt. This makes a whole lot more sense. This is how I normally use Vim. I just didn't know that's what they were getting at. So now we have a file that's blank. So this is file.txt. You can see the name in the very bottom corner, and we can start with append mode or insert mode. So if I just do we're now in insert. Hello, my name is Paul Solt. What is your name? So using these, we can move left and right. If I want, I can do an append here. So I'm in the space. So that means if I append with A, and we could say favorite name. And we can append that, press escape to get out of that. If I need to delete something, X deletes things. So we can just go ahead and start deleting things like that. We can do an insert. So escape, insert. Okay, so this gives us just some lines to play around with the up and the down motion. So J and K. K is going up, J is going down. H is going left, L is going to the right. So that is playing around with it. Now, if we want to save this, that is where we hit escape, and then we do colon, and we start typing a command. So Q bang or exclamation mark is going to quit without saving, which we don't want to do. QW should save the file. Let's just double check. Sorry, it's WQ, so I knew I was typing it wrong. And I don't know exactly what that stands for. It'd be interesting to know why WQ. Write and then quit is my guess. Write, quit. And we don't do a bang, so we're not forcing the quit. Okay, so we do that. Now if I were to cat that file, we would now see the contents of that file is right there. So cat will allow us to print that out to standard output, so you can sort of see it. Or I could say open file.txt. This will just open it up in text edit, and I can use my mouse and I can see that file. Or I can type vim file.txt, and now we're back in the file. Okay, and we can just write something, save. Now, another way to exit and save is to hit escape, and then I typically do shift capital ZZ, so ZZ. Okay. So that's the vimtutor. So we've edited the file, we've done the first lesson, and I'll just wrap it up here. So we're just reviewing what we've learned. So the cursor is moved using either the arrow keys. So the arrow keys, I have to take my fingers out of position, so that's not ideal. So that's why we have the J, K, and then H and L, so that we can move up, down, and then left, right. We start Vim for editing a text file with the file name that you want to create. So when you're creating config files, or if you're creating a text file, anything like that, just VIM and then the file name. And to exit Vim, you're going to do the colon in the normal mode. So you hit escape, then colon, Q, and then exclamation mark, which we typically call bang. So that's a force quit. So that trashes all changes. And then if we want to save the file, one way to do that is the WQ. So you're going to type colon WQ. So that's going to be write and then quit to save all the changes. If you want to delete a character, you can just hover over it and hit escape. and clean something up really quickly without having to move your mouse hands. You don't need to do that when you're working with Vim. And to insert or append text, you type I. So I will allow you to insert something in front. And then A will allow you to append something at the end of the line. So if I wanted to put a period here, A period escape, and I'm done. Pressing escape puts you in normal mode and will cancel any unwanted or partially completed commands. Now you can continue with lesson 2. All right, so that's lesson 1. Like this video if this was helpful. I'm going to be using this in Xcode. I want to get better at typing, so that's one of the things that I'll be doing. So using those J and K keys, left and right, moving around. There's special things like jumping to words with W. So like there's a lot of power. B goes back by words. There's a lot of power once you start getting into this. So once you're in something like this, let's see. You can just jump around a lot easier. So I can jump to words. I can go back. We can go to the beginning of the line, or the first character on a line, the very beginning of the line, or the end of the line with the $sign. So this is all super helpful stuff to help you navigate Xcode quickly. I'm going to be playing around with it. And then there is this resource, which is the Vim cheat sheet. So if you ever want to learn how to do something that you didn't practice in the tutor, you can go ahead and check this out. So I'll have the links down below. I'll just grab that for you. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.